Well, thank you, members of the press and community, for being here today. My name is Carlos Luna, President of LULAC Council number 5310, Green Card Veterans, and Midwest Representative to LULAC's National Committee on Military and Veteran Affairs. I'm here today with State Representatives Aaron Ortiz and Celina Villanueva, Cook County Commissioner Alma Anaya, Alderman Mike Rodriguez and Byron Cicho Lopez, Cicero Democratic Committee woman Blanca Vargas, Ms. Patty Garcia, District Director for Congressman Chuy Garcia's office, Stacy Verdejo from Senator Duckworth's office, and representatives from Lisa Hernandez's office, State Rep. We're also joined by the Marine Corps League Chapultepec, members of the American Legion, in spirit by members of the American GI Forum, and our advisor, Medal of Honor recipient Alan Lynch. Also, Pastors Emma Lozano, Slim Coleman, Sarah Walker of LULAC, and Family Reunification. Today you're going to hear from our co-VP, Joe Taboada, who will read LULAC's official statement on the Government Accountability Office report regarding deported veterans.
I got that.
Just right there. It's got to go on that side. All right. Once again, thanks everybody for being here. Right now, I'm going to be reading a press release that was sent out by LULAC National. A General Accountability Office, the GAO report issued June 6, 2019, has confirmed a far different pattern from what were previously regarded as isolated incidents of deportations involving non-citizens who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. The findings were released in response to a request by Representative Mark Takano from California and described in detail the systematic nature of the unwarranted deportations. Quoted from the report, "The facts recovered through this analysis are painful to accept because they confirm deliberate and cruel actions against men and women who serve bravely defending our country." Correction, that was a quote from LULAC National President Domingo Garcia. "It just goes to show the lack of regard from the rights guaranteed under the Constitution, including a fair legal system under this administration." The report, entitled "Immigration Enforcement Actions Needed to better handle, identify, and track cases involving veterans," states that ICE did not consistently follow its policies involving veterans who were placed in removal proceedings, and does not have reasonable assurance that it is consistently implementing its policies for handling veteran cases. LULAC National President Domingo Garcia says that GAO identified 250 cases of veterans who were placed in removal proceedings between fiscal years 2013 and 2018, of which nearly 100 were removed, including disabled veterans. While this figure sheds light upon the nature of this injustice, we believe this number may be conservative given the limitations in data collection by ICE and USCIS involving veteran cases. Currently, there are veterans around the country awaiting deportation proceedings, and many of those are being held in for-profit detention centers pending hearings in a system bursting at the seams, according to the American Bar Association. Now, this report concludes that ICE is ignoring its own policies regarding veterans. The GA report makes recommendations for Mark A. Morgan, Acting Director of ICE, to consider, but Carlos Luna, Green Card Veterans President, Council 5310, based here in Chicago, says that the recommendations are insufficient and do not address the ways to repatriate our veterans already deported. ICE has consistently demonstrated a lack of regard for its own policies and failed to act on its own accord to correct these operational deficiencies, despite several years of pressure from advocates throughout the United States. Moreover, the report also confirms that non-citizen service members and veterans have been adversely affected by the policy changes since 2017. It is clear that Congress must act through legislation to save our veterans from what is essentially forced exile. At the national level, LULAC calls the following actions to be taken across the United States. 1. Immediately immediately terminate deportation proceedings for all veterans currently in process of being removed from the United States. 2, immediate review of cases involving veterans who have been deported and start the process of repatriation. And 3, initiate congressional hearings with subpoenas for deported veterans to testify about their personal experiences to ensure comprehensive legislation is introduced and passed to prevent a recurrence of these deportations in the future. If anybody has any more questions about this release, please contact Carlos Luna at cluna@greencards.vets.
Before we go on, I want to make it clear that we do not condone criminal activity, but we do recognize the connection between criminal convictions and the veteran community. We also understand that symptoms related to conditions veterans often struggle to cope with in a productive manner are criminalized, with more severe and often disproportionate sentences handed to minorities and the poor. Jurisdictions around the country have also made that connection and have developed veteran treatment courts. Deportation is an extension of that systemic inequality. According to the GAO, between 2013 and 2018, quote, Homeland Security investigators do not distinguish between veterans and non-veterans when deciding to issue notices to appear. In other words, the official beginning of their removal proceedings. ICE did not meet 2015 policy requirements in 70% of the nearly 100 veterans identified and deported. Also, policies implemented in 2017 by Homeland Security and DoD has significantly and negatively impacted non-citizen service members and veterans from successfully applying for naturalization. One of the 92 veterans identified and removed during the time of this investigation was our hometown hero, Miguel Perez Jr. He was removed regardless of all the protests, the demonstrations, the petitions and demands from community members, advocates such as us, and elected officials at every level of government, including a private bill introduced by Senator Tammy Duckworth. He was also removed for his role as a mule, not a drug trafficker, as he's been portrayed. He pled guilty to possession of cocaine after given the choice, as many are, between going to trial and risk getting 60 years in prison or pleading guilty and serving 7.5 of a 15-year sentence. His integrity, with the assistance of a legal counsel that didn't have his best interest in mind, he pled guilty to charges that would later get him deported. Unfortunately, nobody told him he'd be deported for doing so, and nobody bothered to see that in his treatment records from the VA, he'd indicated that one of his most impeding difficulties was not being able to make decisions. This progress note was made within a year prior to his arrest, at the same time that his eligibility for treatment was ending. This is one example of a combat veteran whose service resulted in disabilities, who became trapped in the system of injustice over his pursuit of drugs that didn't require a long wait for a doctor to get. The system then spit him out into a place as foreign to him as the valleys of Afghanistan that he viewed often through the sight of a 50mm machine gun, 50 caliber machine gun. We want to thank Representative Takano of California for his leadership in requesting this report. Without it, our claims of injustice would continue to be silenced as easily as men like Miguel were discarded. Because of these findings and the fact that ICE has consistently demonstrated a lack of regard for its own policies, has failed to act on its own accord to correct operational deficiencies despite years of pressure from advocates across the country, LULAC National, LULAC of Illinois, Green Card Veterans, American GI Forum, and all of those who have voiced support from across the country request immediate termination of deportation proceedings for all veterans currently in the process of being removed from the United States, including Jose Segovia, currently held in a for-profit detention center in Adelanto, California. The immediate review of cases involving veterans who have been deported and start the process of repatriation, including Miguel Perez Jr. and countless veterans in Tijuana, Juarez, Costa Rica, Africa, the Philippines, and countless other countries around the world that they've been exiled to. And the third most important is to initiate congressional hearings with subpoenas for deported veterans to testify about their personal experiences that can ensure comprehensive legislation is introduced, passed, to prevent not only reoccurrence of these deportations in the future, but a more humane treatment within our federal enforcement agencies. And now I'll invite our elected officials to say a few words on this topic.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael D. Rodriguez, Alderman of the 22nd Ward. And it's really sad to have to be here today on this topic. You're here in the 22nd Ward. The heart of the 22nd Ward is the Little Village community. We're standing steps from 26th Street, the second Magnificent Mile. And it's the second Magnificent Mile because of the contributions of immigrants in our country, many of which have served in our military. The fact is that we're standing today and we've had over 250 green card veterans or veterans of that like deported over the last several years. That's unconscionable. We should not allow that to happen. These are people who live in our communities, who've served on our behalf. We need to demand of the President and of Congress to stop deportation and start repatriation of our veterans. I repeat, stop deportation and start repatriation. I'm glad to be here with leaders from all levels of government, with leaders from our veterans community, from the Green Card veterans and others, to highlight this issue. Again, this is unconscionable that we're living in a society where as far back as our founding revolution, people like Alexander Hamilton, who were immigrants to this country, who served in our military. To this day, we have hundreds of thousands of veterans who are immigrants to this country, and a select number of them are being treated in a dishuman, in an unjust way. That needs to stop.
Thank you. Commissioner? Yep.
On the bottom. Hi everyone, my name is Alma Anaya. I'm a Cook County Commissioner of the 7th District. First of all, I'd like to thank Lulek and Carlos Luna and among others from the Green Card veterans for bringing attention to this issue, for highlighting the embarrassing practices and injustices that have been affecting veterans and their families after they tirelessly fighted for our freedom of this country. Yet day after day, the same veterans don't have freedom themselves. Our non-citizen veterans are in removal proceedings and are being deported by ICE. 250 from 2013 to 2018. Again, 250 are in potential removal proceedings. That means 250 families are being affected. Children without their parents, parents without their children, communities without their residents, and our society without our heroes. These are men and women that have protected us, have protected our country and the future for many of our future generations. This is unacceptable. Today we stand here on Manuel Perez Plaza, and it's a beautiful thing to be here because he was a Latinx military hero. He earned many medals. He actually had the Congressional Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, amongst many others. And he was a hero here from Chicago, Illinois. Right now I would like everybody to channel not only Manuel Perez, but military heroes like Dr. Hector Garcia, who was a surgeon, a World War II veteran, and the founder of American GI Forum. He was a hero not only because of what he did when he was in the military, but what he did afterwards. he came back to know that there was discrimination happening with Mexican Americans in Texas. He founded the American GI Forum to advocate for the discriminatory practices that have been happening for way too long for people of color who are serving or have served in the military. He was actually the one that fought for Felix Longoria being able to get a burial, a veteran who fought in the war that wasn't being allowed to get a burial in Texas. We have to channel the heroes that have fought for civil rights for our veterans, and this is the time to do it. I stand here with all the leaders behind me and with LULAC and the Green Card veterans to demand the deportation stop, that we bring back our veterans, and that we look at a more humane of treating and with respect and dignity of the veterans here in our communities that have done so much and are being treated in such a cruel manner. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Muy buenas tardes. Lo voy a decir en español. Es para nosotros una pena estar en estas circunstancias y seguir mirando el continuo ataque a la comunidad inmigrante, el vergonzoso ataque de deportaciones a veteranos de guerra que han sacrificado con sus vidas muchas veces y con su servicio para servir a su país. Es una vergüenza que tengamos que estar aquí en estas circunstancias pidiendo algo que debe ser un derecho, el derecho de estar con sus familias, de su comunidad. Es para nosotros una obligación como servidores públicos el demandar del Congreso y del presidente que se eliminen, que se paren totalmente estas deportaciones a los veteranos de guerra y se comience inmediatamente la repatriación de estos veteranos que han servido a su país. Los veteranos de guerra aquí mismo en nuestra ciudad lamentablemente son víctimas de un sistema quebrado, de un sistema corrupto, que lo que hace es quitarle más y más recursos a los que más necesitan, y ahora tenemos este tipo de situaciones donde estas mismas víctimas, veteranos de guerra que han sacrificado con su servicio por su comunidad, hoy por hoy son víctimas de este sistema corrupto. Así que lo que estamos pidiendo y demandando es inmediatamente una reforma inmigratoria global, comprensiva, que se paren las deportaciones de todas las familias. La unificación familiar para nuestra comunidad es importantísima y que nosotros vemos en estos casos más y más urgente que se elimine ICE, que es una agencia que, como hemos escuchado, continúa teniendo más y más fallas y lo que ha continuado a hacer es dañando y lastimando a nuestra comunidad. Aquí estamos apoyando 100% y vamos a seguir desde nuestras comunidades demandando estos cambios. Muchas gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Ortiz. I am the state representative of the 1st District. In the area that I represent on the southwest side of Chicago, we have many veterans that have faithfully served our country. I am proud to honor these people in my work as a legislator and as a resident of our city and our country. As a member of the Veteran Affairs Committee in Springfield, my job is to represent all the veterans in the state of Illinois. I take it a step further because I see that I also have to represent and advocate for all veterans in the United States. We are here today because of the despicable, disgraceful, and outright embarrassing actions taken by federal immigration officials. By now, we have all heard stories of brave men and women who served their countries overseas, and upon returning home, were placed in deportation proceedings by the federal government. We were told that these were unique cases, cherry-picked stories, but as we have found out, these were no extraordinary or isolated cases. This was common practice. Over 250 cases have been identified by veterans, many of them disabled veterans, who were placed in removal proceedings. We believe that the actual number is much higher given the data collection practices by ICE and USCIS. This is not how a country that claims to honor all veterans should treat their veterans. I'm committed to speaking out and doing anything in my position to advocate for veterans. Thank you to LULAC and to Green Card Veterans for bringing us together, and I look forward to continuing this work with you. Thank you.
Stay right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Selena Villanueva. I'm the state representative of the 21st District. And I stand here today as a member of the Illinois General Assembly, but most importantly, I stand here today as a member of a military family. A cousin of a who is currently serving, a member of the Marine Corps who is currently serving our nation at this moment. And when I say that as somebody who lives almost every day with the fear of seeing his name pop up on the news, of the fear of a family, an immigrant family, who fears losing him to the difficulties of war. And when I have to stand here as an elected official for veterans who are the American heroes, who are our American heroes, asking for this country to do right by them in the same right that they have done by us, to protect our freedoms and our liberties, to protect all of us regardless of status. It is not just unjust, and it's not just disappointing, it's heartbreaking. We're not just talking about 250 people and individuals throughout this country, and we're not even just talking about 250 families. We are talking about communities that have lost our American heroes to a broken immigration system that is unfortunately affecting so many millions of families in this country. And when we stand here asking for Congress to do their job, it's heartbreaking that we are tearing families apart and tearing away people, heroes, who need us more than ever. So I'm here today, not only again as a member of the General Assembly, but as a member of a military family who will fight in my position to do everything that I can possible to stand by Green Card veterans, but also LULAC and all of our military families to help them in their time of need. Because what we need now is people like Miguel Perez Jr. to come home so that his community and the services in this country can help him heal from something that he had to endure for this country. And we will continue to do that, and we will continue to fight for every other veteran and every other enlisted member right now who is in need of those same services and in need of that same help and healing, because they deserve us to have their back when they had ours. Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. Voy a expresar en español y dar las gracias a todos los oficiales electos del estado de Illinois que nos están representando en este distrito y en varios distritos del condado de Cook. Muchísimas gracias por el apoyo a LULAC y también al Green Card Veterans, los cuales iniciaron este concilio para poder defender los derechos civiles de nuestros veteranos. Para que sepan ustedes la historia de por qué se formó LULAC en 1929, fue precisamente para defender los derechos civiles de nuestros veteranos, porque no habían sido tratados igualmente. Así es de que para nosotros celebrar el 90º aniversario este año en una convención nacional y promover los derechos civiles de los veteranos, este es el año en el cual pedimos al presidente y a los congresistas que apoyen lo que está presentando los Green Card Vets. Pero, y también a nombre de todos los representantes del estado de Illinois y gracias a nuestro alderman de aquí de la 22nd Ward, que también fue parte del LULAC en esta área, y nos sentimos muy orgullosos de quien es ahora. Inclusive, precisamente en la calle 26 se formó el concilio de LULAC, y desde entonces soy miembro desde 1972 y nunca he dejado el LULAC porque seguimos y continuaremos peleando por los derechos civiles de nuestros veteranos. Gracias.
And to wrap up, I would just like to thank everybody again for being here, and I would like to express Green Card Veterans and LULAC's commitment to working with your offices and your colleagues' offices in making things happen that would bring equity to our non-citizen veteran community and our non-citizen community members as a whole as a result. With that said, I want to thank everybody for being here, for tuning in, and I will open it up for any questions or concerns or any last minute thoughts. Well, thank you.